Hi, I hope I'm audible.
Yes, I can hear you.
Perfect. So, yes, first of all, welcome to DurgaSoft. As we know, this is our first demo class on MySQL. Right. First, let me introduce about myself. I am Divya. I have about 8+ years of experience into data analytics. I completed my master's in data science and I have teaching experience in all the data science subjects like SQL, Tableau, Python, Power BI, statistics, and machine learning. So, with DurgaSoft, currently I'm working with MySQL and Tableau. And yes, today, as this is our first class, first demo class, let me give the introduction about SQL. Okay, and we will see what are all the topics or contents we are going to cover in this particular course. Okay, first of all, as you know, the course duration is of 35 days. That is 35 sections. I'll take classes from Monday to Friday. So 35 sessions I will take, and on the same timing, 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. IST. Okay, and first, let's today I try to understand about database and what is database, what is SQL, very basic concepts of SQL and MySQL. Okay, before starting, if possible, can you please tell me about yourself? Like, are you from IT background or non-IT background? Are you currently working? Do you have prior knowledge on SQL? Something like that. If you want, you can unmute yourself and you can speak, or else you can even type in the chat box. Anything is fine.
Yeah, hi Divya, this is Surya.
Hi.
I'm having 8 years of IT experience, but recently I started looking into some database technologies. So
Okay.
mostly on I'm covering MySQL, although I mean another 5 6 database technologies. So I just want to know some more hands-on MySQL. So mostly in this session, I'm looking for how to handle the MySQL database on daily basis and about troubleshooting issues and how it works and what's the difference between other technologies. I mean, currently we are getting many database technologies like
Correct.
Postgres, Neo4j. So that based mostly I'm looking on that and about the cluster setup also actually I'm looking. I mean like InnoDB cluster and how the InnoDB cluster works and routing router is there, right? So how that works. So I just want to learn mostly on that. So
Okay.
I'm looking for those things as well.
Okay, I got it, Surya. Thank you. Naveen, are you there?
Good. Hello.
Hi, Naveen.
Hi, ma'am. This is Naveen.
Okay.
Just now, I completed my BTech.
Okay, so you are fresher.
Yeah, fresher. I'm fresher, ma'am.
Okay.
I have completed my mechanical in BTech. I'm
Okay.
not non-IT student, ma'am.
All right. Okay, no problem, Naveen. I got it. Thank you.
Okay.
All right. So let's start. As I said, usually in every batch, I'll get some mixed students. We'll get students who are from non-IT background who are looking forward to transit their career into IT, and of course, the first basic language or basic thing which everyone needs to know is SQL whenever they are trying to shift to IT, right? And of course, we will get some professionals as well who are already working, currently working in SQL, wanted to learn some advanced concepts, like that. So, keeping everyone in mind, I teach everything from scratch. Like very starting from what is data to the very advanced concepts, everything is covered here by solving examples, by learning, by using some real-time database. We will learn everything very practically. Okay, so as this is a first demo class, first let's try to understand a little bit about SQL. Okay, so before explaining about databases and SQL, let me talk a little bit about the importance of data. Okay, and as I said, you know maybe as you know we have only two students, as you already said, Surya, you might have already knowledge about what I am telling today, but maybe Naveen, as he's from non-IT background, it will be helpful for everyone. So let me actually explain everything detailedly from scratch. Okay. So first of all, data. Correct. Uh, Let me talk little bit about the importance of data. Why we are using so many databases, right? Obviously, whatever we do today, that is nothing but, whatever we are doing on our daily tasks or whatever it is, everything is all about data only. For example, whenever we are using some smartphone, whenever we are using any application, by default we are generating data, right? We are generating lots and lots of data nowadays. Correct. Previously, as we know, maybe your before computers came into existence, everything was made by machines. Before that, everything was made man-made. Correct. They used to store the data in files, and then computers came into existence. They started storing the data in Excel files like this, right? Eventually, databases came into existence. So why nowadays, everything is depending on the data, in the sense, obviously, whatever we do here, let's talk about any smartphone. We nowadays daily we will use smartphone, we will use so many applications, but what is happening, whatever we are doing here, whatever we are doing with our phone, whatever applications we are using, that is nothing but we are generating data only. For example, Amazon is there, any food delivery app, anything, any application, any e-commerce website. If I am ordering some product online from Amazon, what will happen at the back end? It will store my data. Correct. Like, the customer data, and what is the product I'm selling, and who is the, supplier details, who is supplying that particular product details, of course, about the product name, maybe, the price of the product, and delivery details, like, from where I am ordering that, and delivery status, in how many days I received the product, and transactional details, how, whether it is COD or whether it is prepaid, or the complete details, whatever it is associated with, will store in the form of data only, right? And we know that, we especially when the data generation increased a lot, in the sense, maybe before also we used to generate the data, before also databases are there, but especially two things. First is demonetization, right? Suddenly what happened, whenever demonetization happened, overnight we started using digital payments, right? Before we used to do all cash payments only, but from that time everyone started doing digital payments. They started using Google Pays or Phone Pays, Paytms and all. Correct. So what is happening, even that transactions also, they are generating the data, right? Transactional details, everything will for every transaction the data will be generated. Correct. And next, the major thing is COVID. From the COVID time, the data generation becomes maybe thousands times, some thousand times or lakh of times more than before. Correct. Because everything we started doing online only. We started buying the things online. We started doing online shopping. We started using many OTT platforms. We started working from home. We today, of course, today we are connected in online to learn something, like that. Everything we are doing in online only, and whatever we do online, that is nothing but we are generating data. So as we now we can relate, so this much of data is generating on daily basis. So definitely there should be some better systems to maintain this data, to handle this data in a better way. Correct. That is all about database. Database is something where we will store the data, which, by using which we will maintain the data. Why we need to store the data and maintain the data, in the sense, obviously, if it is any business, if it is any domain, they need to analyze the data, right, to run their business. If let's talk about Zomato or Swiggy, let's talk about Amazon or Flipkart, if they are storing their data so that they can analyze, in which region the sales are high, in which region the sales are low. Correct. On what products they are getting huge orders, and on what products they are getting less orders, what is the feedback of the customers, everything they can understand, they can analyze by seeing this data only. Correct. And what is the importance of analyzation? Because when they can analyze all these things only, they can decide how to improve their business, right? End of the day, everyone will do the business to gain profits only. Correct. So like this, all these things are related to each other. That is the reason SQL is very important, because of course, this is not the complete data analytics course, but as I am from data science field, definitely data analytics is, or data science is not sticking to any single domain. In every domain, like it can be business, it can be pharmacy, it can be electrical, it can be every field, right? In every field, everyone, if they are doing business, they need to store the data, they need to analyze the data to improve the profits, or to raise their business, correct? So everywhere data is being stored, it is being maintained, it is being analyzed, so that they can improve their business in a better way, right? So first and foremost, SQL. SQL is a subject, is a concept by using which we will actually deal with the database. We will learn how to deal with the database. And if anyone is planning to transit their career from non-IT to IT background, first of all, SQL, I can say it is a backbone of complete IT industry. In every domain, whatever domain you wanted to choose, it can be data, not only data science, it can be full stack, it can be testing, everywhere. First, you need to learn SQL, and then along with that, corresponding any particular other languages or subjects you need to learn. Okay, so first, what is database in a sense? As I said, in database only we will store the data. I can say it's a collection of data. Collectively, we will store all the data inside the database. Okay, so that is called as database basically. So whatever data we are generating, just now we spoke about Amazon, right? So on daily basis, Amazon will get so many orders. Definitely, Amazon should store all those data for the further analysis. So it can't maintain all the data in the form of Excels, right? It is impossible. So they will maintain their own database where they will store the data. Okay, like that. Every company, every business, they are maintaining their own databases to store the data. Database is nothing but the place where we will store the data collectively. Okay, now what is SQL? As we all know, maybe SQL, the full form of SQL is structured query language, correct? But what exactly SQL is, just to make you understand very clearly, I'll just tell you a small example so that you can relate the things very clearly. Just a second. If anyone is completely new to SQL, they can relate the what is SQL very easily with this example. Okay, so let's consider this is one school. Okay, maybe I'm talking about one particular class, maybe 10th A section. Okay, so here in this particular class, they are maintaining the data of the students in a register, physically. Maybe in our childhood, we used to see, right? They used to maintain a registers in our classes in our school, something like attendance to store to enter the attendance details and all. They used to maintain that in the physical registers, right? So I'm just taking the same example. Suppose in one class, they are maintaining some student data in one register, something like maybe student roll number or student ID, okay, student name, maybe student attendance, or else let's consider like student marks, something like this they are storing. Okay, one day what happened, the principal of the school wanted to analyze the performance of this particular class. As they are 10th class, the principal thought he should analyze the students' performance, maybe about their attendance or about that marks. And what he did, he called his peon and he said to his peon that go to this particular class and bring the register. Okay, peon understood what principal want, so he went to the class, he took the register, he gave that register back to the principal, so that principal can see the data from the register and he can understand on or analyze whatever he want, right? Suppose the same scenario, if here they're storing physically in some registers or books, so just peon brought the book or register to the principal, he can understand the data, he can see the data from that book. Now the same scenario, instead of storing the data in the registers, maybe let's think they are storing the data in computers in the form of Excel file. Okay, because we know even in Excel files we can store the data. Okay, so if the data is storing in the Excel file, I mean, data can also store in the Excel file, but the problem is we have some limitations. If the data is very small, if I'm talking about only 50 rows of data, 100 rows of data, like 50 students, 100 students, then easily we can maintain the data in the Excel file. But whereas if there is a lots of data, suppose I wanted to store some 10,000 rows, I wanted to store some 5,000 rows, 6,000 rows, then maintaining that much data in the Excel file will leads to some limitations, which I'll discuss going forward. What are the limitations of the Excel file? How we are overcoming that limitations by using databases, we will learn. I will explain in a couple of days. Okay. So I'm saying instead of registers, if they are maintaining Excel files, if it is a small class, if it is a small number of students, then that is okay, no problem. But let's consider, let's not talk much about Excel here. Let's consider this is a big university, something like JNTU University, where they're having some thousands and thousands of students, and they are preferring to store the data inside database. Okay. This is a database. So instead of physical registers, this is a big university, they are storing the data inside the database. Now the same example here also, the data is stored in the database. The principal wanted to analyze the data, right? So what he will do here, previously whenever the data stored in the registers, what principal did, he called the peon and he said to his peon that go and bring the register for me, right? While whenever he's saying this, he is communicating this, he might use some language, right? It can be English, Hindi, Telugu, whatever it is, but definitely principal needs to use some language so that peon can understand what exactly principal want. Maybe if it is in English, he might say that go to that section and bring the register for me. Then only peon understand what exactly principal wants, right? In the same way, whenever we are storing data inside the database, whenever the principal wanted to analyze the data or to, see the data, here he should use one language to communicate with the database. That is nothing but SQL. SQL, structured query language, it is basically a language which is used to communicate with the database. It's all about communication, right? If principal says clearly what he wants to the peon, then only he can understand. He go to the class, he will bring the register and he will give it back to the he will give the register back to the principal. In the same way, if the data is stored in the database, whenever I wanted to see any particular data, I need to communicate to the database clearly what is my requirement. Okay, so in that process, to communicate with the database, we will use a concept, we will use a language called as SQL here. Okay, I hope it is clear. What is SQL actually? So the technical
Yes.
definition of perfect. The technical definition of SQL is a language which is used to communicate with the database. Okay. This is about SQL. We understood what is database. Of course, the database is something where we will store all the data. And to communicate with the database, we need to use SQL as a language. Then what is MySQL? Obviously, we have so many databases in the market. Okay. SQL is a universal declared language. The concepts are, whatever we are going to use, all the concepts are same. Okay, the concepts belongs to SQL only, but to use that concepts, to use that things, we will use any particular software or any particular databases. We have so many databases available in the market, maybe something like Oracle database, okay, maybe SQL Server, maybe MySQL, maybe PostgreSQL, like that. We have so many databases in the market. Okay. So here in our course, we are using MySQL as a database to understand about SQL concepts. We are using MySQL as a database, and obviously all these databases are from different companies. Like Oracle SQL and MySQL are the products from Oracle company. SQL Server is a product from Microsoft company. Like that, we have so many softwares out there. Okay, some companies will use MySQL, some companies will use SQL Server. It's okay, but end of the day, the main concepts, the main concept is of SQL only. The subject is SQL. All the concepts, whatever we are going to learn, are the concepts of SQL only. But we are using a different databases to use this SQL. Something like, if I'm talking about any Android phone, OS will be Android, but there are many companies like there is Samsung, OnePlus, like that. Okay, here also the concept is one, we are using so many databases just to use that SQL. Okay, and why we are learning MySQL, basically in the sense it is an open source platform. That means it is freely available for everyone, and because of that reason, most of the companies nowadays are preferring to use MySQL. Okay, and we have a better security features in this particular MySQL when comparing to the other databases. Even I'll explain, I'll tell what is that special features and how it is useful, especially when we are updating the data. We have a special safety and security option here, which I will show you while we are learning about the update command. Okay, so because of this few reasons, most of the companies nowadays are preferring to use MySQL. And of course, if we are learning, we are using MySQL here to, MySQL here in our course, but the concepts, the queries will be same, even with the same thing, whatever we are using here, you can use the same syntaxes in Oracle and SQL Server also. Everything is same, no difference. Okay, basically, let me explain little more detailing. We have two types. Okay, something like SQL and NoSQL. Okay, so whatever I said previously, like Oracle SQL, PostgreSQL, SQL Server, MySQL, all this comes under SQL only. And under NoSQL, we have something called as MongoDB. This is again different. Okay, what all the databases comes under SQL, those all databases are almost same. The syntax is, if you learn MySQL, you can use the same syntax in other databases also. Not MongoDB, not the databases which comes under NoSQL, that is a different thing. But whatever databases comes under SQL, all the databases are almost same. Maybe there will be little slight changes, but almost the concepts and syntaxes will be same. Okay, and we have one term called as RDBMS. Okay, that is nothing but relational database management system. Okay, relational database management system. What is this RDBMS in the sense? Obviously, we understood what is database. We are using database. Inside database only, we will store the data. Correct? So before that, before explaining this point, let's talk. I forgot to say one point. Basically, first we'll create the database. Inside the database, we'll create the tables, and inside tables, we will store the data. And always we will store the data inside the table in the form of rows and columns. Okay, basically we will store data inside tables, and all the tables we will create inside a database. Something like, if in our system, we will have some D drive, C drive, right? Inside the folders, we will again create some, inside the drives, we will create some folders. Inside the folders, we will store some files, something like that. Inside database, we will create tables. Inside tables, we will store the data. Let's take one example. Maybe I wanted to store some employees data. So I'm giving table name as employees. Here my table name is employees, and I'm storing data like this. Employee ID, employee name, salary, date of joining. Okay, I'm just giving some random data. Just 2 rows are enough. Okay. So this is my table data. Basically, employees is my table name, and vertical thing is called as column. Okay. And horizontal thing is called as row. That means here I'm having four four columns. Employee ID is one column, employee name is one column, salary is one column, date of joining is one column, and I'm having two rows of data. This is my first row of data, this is my second row of data, like that. Okay, in tables, inside tables we will store the data in the form of rows and columns. In this table we are having four columns and two rows. Okay, and as this is an Excel file, I wrote like this, but usually in SQL, we will use some syntaxes. Syntax. That is nothing but maybe we can consider something like a formula or a rule which you need to follow to create something, to maybe to create some data in everything, to do, to basically communicate with the database. If you want to analyze anything, whatever we will do with SQL, we will use syntaxes for each and every thing what we do. Okay, so here simply I wrote the data here as this is Excel file, but to create this particular table, we will use some commands, we will use some syntaxes in SQL, which we will learn going forward. Okay, now what is RDBMS in the sense? The full form of RDBMS is Relational Database Management System. So we understood that we will store data inside the database in the tables, right? Basically, we'll store the data inside the tables. So what is RDBMS in the sense? SQL always follows RDBMS technique. Then what is RDBMS in the sense? Our tables are connected to each other. Then that is nothing but that data. Then we will say that database is RDBMS. That is in RDBMS, if all the time our tables will be connected to each other. Okay, there is a connection between the tables in that particular database. I mean, in any database, if the tables are connected to each other, then we will say that database is following RDBMS technique. Okay, how we will connect the tables? Definitely we will learn going forward. We will have some concept called as foreign key, by using which we will create the relationship between the tables, which we will learn going forward. Okay, up to here whatever I explained, is that clear? Any doubts for anyone? If everything is clear, I'll show you the introduction user interface of MySQL, and let's try to create our first database or first table today. Hi Shivani, are you there? Can you hear me? Okay, let's continue. If you have any doubts, yes, Shivani. I think you joined a little bit late. This is our first demo. I
Yeah.
hope whatever I explained, that is clear for you, right?
Yes, I got it.
Okay, and before you joined, the remaining two students, they gave their introduction. If possible, can you please tell me about, yourself? Like, are you currently working? Do you have some knowledge on SQL, or you are completely a fresher kind of thing?
Yeah, so my name is Shivani Dubey. I'm from Jabalpur, Madhya Pradesh, and
Okay.
I'm a fresher, and I want to gain a skill in MySQL.
Okay.
So that's why I'm here. Yeah.
Okay. Perfect, sure. Thank you.
Yeah.
Hi, Chiru. Can you hear me? I think you joined just now. All right. So I'm opening this MySQL. Once we are done with our demo classes, I'll show you the installation process of MySQL. Okay. For now, I wanted to show you the user interface of MySQL. Once we install this, and whenever we open, this is our first page where you can see something like, local instance here. You need to click on this. And this is a basic user interface of MySQL Workbench. Okay, so no worries about installation process. Detail I'll show you. I will ask any one of you to share your screen. I'll tell you, like, on which day I'm going to show you installation process. Anyone, you can log in by using your laptop. Share your screen. I'll make you to download and install the software here so that remaining students can follow the same even afterwards by watching the video or at that particular time. It's up to you. Okay. So let's first try to understand about this user interface, and let's try to create our first database or tables. Okay. So basically, as we all know, maybe in every Excel files and my MS Words, we will have this menu bar, correct, and toolbar. In the same way in MySQL also, this is a menu bar where we'll have some options like file, edit, view, and this is a toolbar. Okay. So you can see here SQL file line. This is a page. This is an editor where we can write our queries. To open this file, we have two options. Either you know in the file, in the menu bar, file option, we need to click on new query tab when new file got opened, or else even we have a shortcut, that is first icon in the toolbar. Okay, we can just click on that, then one more file got opened. So in two ways we can just open the SQL files. Here inside this files we can write any queries and we can save this file. And whatever you can see towards the left side, we have something called as schemas, and below that you can see some names here, right? This is nothing but the list of the databases available in my system. Okay, so first we'll create the database, and inside database we'll store the tables, right? So by default, whenever you install your software, you will have only one database, that is this. This is a by default database. You will have this one, and after that, whatever databases you will create, that databases you can able to see here in this particular list. Okay, in every database we have four sections like tables, views, stored procedures, functions, which we will learn going forward detailing. Okay, and below this is the information section. Actually, whenever you select any particular table, for example, I'm just expanding this database. Data analytics is one database name. Inside I created some tables. I can expand the tables. If I'm selecting this employees here, the information, basic information about this table, I can able to see here in the information section. Like table name is employees, column names is employee ID, employee name, salary, department ID, and we have something called as data types, which we will learn going forward, but all the information we can able to see here in the information section. And as I said, this is editor page where we will write all our queries. Okay, and this is the output section. Whenever we wanted to see the output, we need to execute, and we can able to see the output here in the output section. Now let's try to understand about some options whatever we have inside this file. We understood how to open a new file, either by clicking on the inside file, either by clicking on new query tab, or else this first icon in the toolbar. This is a shortcut to open a new SQL file, right? So inside SQL file, we have some options, right? So first of all, whatever we write here, if you wanted to save this in your system, you can click on the save icon, and you can give any file name, and it will be stored and as an SQL file. And if you want to open already saved files, you need to click on this folder icon, and you can select whatever you wanted to see. Okay, just a second. Like this, you can able to access any files by opening by using this particular folder icon. And the third icon is execute button. To see any output, we need to actually execute it, right? So this is the execute button. Okay, and the remaining options, that is not that important. We will if whatever it is important, we will try to see going forward. Okay, so these are the basic options which you need to understand at this point of time. Okay, now let's try to create first let's try to create our first database. But before creating database, let me mention some points here. So as we already discussed what is database in the sense, some students just now they joined. Let me just repeat it, at least the definition. What is database in the sense? That is nothing but collection of data. Basically, we will store all the data collectively inside databases. Right? Then what is SQL in the sense? Full form is structured query language, but basically SQL is a language which is used to communicate with the database, right? So basically, I explained already about the SQL by giving one example. If anyone just now attended the session, you can watch that previous things whatever I explained in the video. Okay, you will get a video link of this demo. You can just see once so that you will get a clear clarity about what is SQL, what example I gave to understand SQL. Okay, so basically it is a language which is used to communicate with the database. Inside database we will store the data, and whenever we wanted to see any data, whenever we have any requirement, whenever we wanted to analyze any data, we will use SQL to communicate with the database. Okay, and we have something called as comments in SQL. And we have two types of comments. That is, one is single row comment, and the second one is multi-row comment. Okay. So what is single row comment in the sense? If you observe, whenever I'm writing here, I'm using some symbol here, right? Like two hyphen. So basically, what is comments in the sense, like in every programming language, we'll have something called as comments. Maybe in Java, Python, everywhere we'll use comments. That is nothing but whatever we write inside comments, that is non-executable. Okay, if you don't want to execute anything, you can just keep it inside comments. Here, usually in my classes, I will write a theory notes inside comments like this. As you can see, I wrote some notes here, and before that, I kept comments, right? So single line comments is symbol is this one, two hyphens or else hash. Even you can use one hash. Single hash is also comment. Okay, so it is a single row actually. So because of that reason, in before every row, I kept the comment. So if you wanted to keep anything as a multiple rows inside comments, then the symbol for that is this one. Hash star, and you can write whatever you want here. How many rows you want, you can write anything. This is the start of the comment. This is the end of the comment. In between, whatever you wanted to write, you can write. Okay, this is, of course, multi-row comment or multi-line comment. Maybe I'll write it as multi-line comment and single line comment. That is the correct word actually instead of row. Okay. Single line comment. In single line, if I wanted to keep anything inside comments, either I need to use this symbol or this symbol. If I want multi-lines to keep inside comment, we will use this one, this symbol. Start of the comment, end of the comment. Okay. Now, so just now I said we have something called as syntax, right? In for everything, whatever we do here, we will use some syntaxes. Now let's try to create our first database. Okay. So just a second. So the syntax for creating database, so for everything we have a syntax, right? So for creating database also we have a syntax, and the syntax is create database name. Okay, create database name is a syntax to create the database. Every time whenever we are giving database name, it should be unique. Okay, so let's create our first database. Create database name, I'm giving it as SQL 7. As this is 7 p.m. class, I'm giving it as SQL 7. If you see, this is, I don't want to execute all these things. That is the reason I kept inside comments. But this is my actual query, actual syntax. So I'm not mentioning any comments before this because I wanted to execute this, right? So this is the syntax for creating database. Create database name, any name you can give, but every time we need to give a unique name. Okay, so let's execute this. To execute this, we need to select like this, and this is the execute button. We need that is the third icon here, execute button. I'm just clicking on it, and in the output section you can see it got successfully executed. If you can see, if you see like this green color tick mark, that means the query got successfully executed. And if you face any errors, here in the place of this, you can find a red color cross mark. Okay, which I will show you that also. So we created our first database. Now I wanted to see this database here in the list. So to reflect the databases or the tables, whatever we created inside this list, once we need to refresh here. We have a refresh icon here beside schemas. I'm just clicking on this refresh. Now we can see I got this SQL 7. Okay. This is how we will create the database. I can expand this, and you can see, for as I said, for inside every database, we will have 4 sections. Tables, views, stored procedures, and functions. Going forward, we'll understand about views and stored procedures, functions, everything. For now, we are concentrating on on tables. Okay. So we created our first database. Next, we need to understand about activating the database. So what is activating the database in the sense? You can see I'm having so many databases here, correct? So, excuse me. Sorry. So in this class, I wanted to use this SQL 7 as my database. Okay, I know that. But how SQL will know that I am wanted to use this particular database? Correct? To make SQL understand, to make database understand, we are going to use this particular database. We need to activate the database. Okay. Activating the database, we will use command. The syntax will be use database name. Use database name is the syntax for activating the database. Let's activate our database. Use database name. Our database is SQL 7. Correct? So I'm just selecting this. I'm executing. You can see it got executed successfully, and you can observe here it got highlighted. Previously, the database is very, it is in normal light color, but now it went into bold color and it got highlighted. Correct? So now database will understand that we are currently using this SQL 7 database. Going forward, whatever queries we will execute here, all the queries will be executed inside this database only. So every time, of course, in real time, there is in real time, no need of activating the databases, because definitely we will work only on one database. Directly we'll connect to our client database and we will work. But in in practice sessions in here, we will have multiple databases. So every time before using anything, first you need to activate the database, and then only you need to execute any queries. Okay, that is must thing. You should not forget this one. You should not forget this, or else if you execute, suppose if no database is in activation and if you executed anything, it will throw us error stating no database is selected. But suppose here already SQL 7 is activated. Now in the maybe for the next class I wanted to use SQL demo, but I forgot to activate the database and I executed any particular query. That particular query will be definitely, it will execute it, it will store under SQL 7 only, not SQL demo. Right? That will be a mistake. So every time whenever you are using, you need to activate the database first, then only you need to execute any particular queries. Okay. So we understood how to create the database. We understood how to activate the database. And observe here, I missed explaining one more point, mentioning one more point. MySQL is case insensitive. That means you can use uppercase, lowercase, no problem. If you see here, while creating the database, I used capital letters, SQL 7. While activating, I used small letters. It doesn't matter because MySQL is case insensitive. You can use anything, it's okay. Okay. So now let's create our first table. So like for everything, we have a syntaxes. Creating table also, we have a syntax. And let's first see what is the syntax for creating the table. Okay. Create table name. So in Excel file, we created the table like this, right? I gave the table name as employees. I defined some column names and I inserted and I gave some data inside the table. So now we have a command called as create. Okay, we have some commands. Tomorrow I'll explain about all those commands. We have a concept called as sub languages. We will detail discuss every command in that particular class. But for now, create is also one command which is used to create any database object. Actually, let me write it clearly. Create is a command which is used to create any database object. Okay. So what is database object here in the sense? That is, database object is nothing but it can be table, it can be view, it can be stored procedure, Okay, like that. All these things are considered as database objects. To create table also we'll use create command. To views also we will use create command, like that. For creating any database objects, we will use create command only. For now, we are concentrating on tables. So let's see the syntax for creating table. The syntax will be like create table name. After that, we need to use parentheses. That is nothing but brackets. And inside the brackets, you need to mention the column names. Like here, column name 1. And for every column, we need to define data type. What is data type? I'll just explain you in a while. Column name 2 and data type for that particular column. Like how many you want, that many columns you can define. Okay. Now let's directly create one example. The same employees table, whatever we wrote in an Excel file, let's try to create it here. Okay. Create table. Table name is employees. Okay. And inside I wanted to give some columns like employee ID, employee name, salary, date of joining. Okay, 4 columns I wanted to keep. But I said for every column name, we will define its data type. Now here also I need to define data types for all these 4 columns. But before understanding, the complete create table syntax, or before creating this table, first let's try to understand about what is data type. Okay. So what is data type in the sense, data types will only decide what kind of values we can enter in any particular column. For example, just now previously I said that we can store data inside Excel files also. If it is small data, then that is okay. If it is huge data, then we have some limitations, right? Basically, we have some limitations in Excel file, and we will discuss all the limitations going forward in couple of days. But let me explain about one limitation here. Okay. One major drawback or one major limitation of Excel file is that if it is small data also, we have one problem here. Suppose I'm storing employees data here in Excel file, and I gave 4 column names. Maybe I'm entering some salary here. Instead of 65,000, really I entered some textual data. Okay, instead of date, I entered some random textual data here. It is accepted, right? It is not throwing me any error stating this is salary column. You need to enter data in numbers, but you are entering some textual data. This is date column. You need to enter dates only, but you are entering some textual data. It is not, it is not throwing me any error. It is not communicating, or it is not saying me that I am entering wrong data. Correct? It is not alerting me that I entered textual data. In salary, I need to enter numbers. In date of joining, I need to enter dates. It is not telling me. Whatever I'm giving, it is blindly taking. Correct? Obviously, we humans, we will do mistakes. There will be human errors. Knowingly or unknowingly, if we enter any wrong data, if we enter any irrelevant data, Excel will accept. It will not throw any error. It will not alert us that we are entering wrong data, which is one of the biggest drawback of Excel. Sorry, biggest drawback of Excel. Suppose if you are storing some 100 rows, or let's talk about small data only. If I'm storing some 40 rows also, I'm a human. I can do any mistake. By mistakenly, maybe I entered one extra character here. Maybe because of instead of ram, I entered something like this. It will just accept, right? So it won't throw me any error. Whatever I will give, it will accept. That is one of the drawback of Excel file. So this drawback, this limitation, we will overcome in SQL by using this data type scheme. Every column we will define data types, and this data types only will decide what kind of data we can enter inside that particular column. For example, if for salary column, we wanted to insert numbers only, right? So we will define that data type so that it will allow me to enter numbers only. If I'm entering any textual data, if I'm entering any dates, it will not allow me. Like that, for every column, we will define data types. We have some data types in SQL, which we will discuss detailing. But because of this data types only, data types only will decide what kind of data I can enter inside any particular column. Okay, let me write the definition first. Data types will decide what kind of values we can enter inside any table or any column, let's say. Okay. any column or table. So because of this data types, we will get rid of this biggest limitation which we had in Excel file. If I'm giving hello here, Excel is accepting. But if I give hello here, hello in SQL, it will throw me error stating this is salary column. You need to enter number, but you entered some textual data. It will give me that error in SQL because of this data types only. And how many types of data types are there in the sense? We have numeric data type or numeric data type, character or string data type, date time data type. Okay, like this, we have some data types which I'll discuss deeply in tomorrow's class. We have still 5 minutes. I just wanted to show you what are all the course contents we are going to cover in this course. We will continue this tomorrow class. Tomorrow is also a demo class. I'll continue with this data types concept. We'll discuss about these 3 types of data types, and then we'll continue to define data types and create our first table, and we will learn some other concepts as well. For now, let me explain about the course content which we are going to cover in this course. As I said, the duration is of 35 days, 35 sessions. I'll take Monday to Friday classes will be there in the same timing, 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. IST. And the course content is Introduction to Database and SQL, which is done today. Limitations of Excel file, maybe in couple of days I'll explain. Creation of database and tables, almost done today. MySQL installation, once we are done with demo classes, I'll show you. Data types in SQL, tomorrow we will cover this. And after we are done, understanding data types in SQL, we will start tomorrow this concept, that is sub-languages. We have some commands, or we have basically something called as sub-language in MySQL. We have this 5 types of languages: DDL, DML, DCL, TCL, and TQL. Under each sub-language, we have some commands. Okay, so we will learn all the commands very detailedly by by solving some examples. This is, and next, once we are done with the sub-language concept, next we have integrity constraints. Okay, we have some integrity constraints or some keys in SQL like primary key, foreign key, not null constraint, unique constraint, check constraint, default constraint. What are all those constraints? Why we will use them, where we will use them, everything we will discuss detailedly by solving some examples. So up to here, up to this integrity constraints concept, these are considered as very basic concepts of SQL. Okay, so as these are basic concepts of SQL, I will just explain these concepts by using some normal tables, like it can be employees table, it can be orders table, any students table. Like that, I'll take some random tables and I'll explain up to here. And once we are done with the very basics of SQL, then I'll give you the speciality of my course is that we will learn everything by using one live project or real-time database, I can say. That is nothing but our movies database. We will use movies database here. It's a kind of OTT platform database, something like Netflix you can consider. Basically, it is a movies database, okay, where we will where we will store all the movies kind of data in it. Okay, so once we are done with integrity constraints, I'll explain you this database. I'll show you how to, I'll give you this database. I'll show you how to restore that database into your systems. And then we will start our actual concepts. From here, the main concepts or intermediate concepts, I can say up to here, these are basics. Next, we have a concept called as operators and clauses. Basically, SQL operators and SQL clauses are used together. So here we will discuss those two concepts together. We have some clauses in SQL like where clause, order by clause, okay, limit clause, distinct clause. We will group by clause, having clause. We will learn all the clauses. Along with that, we have some operators like or operator, and operator, not operator, between operator, in operator, and especially like operator. So we will learn all these operators from here, starting from this particular class. We will learn each and every concept by solving some examples by using movies database, where we have some thousands of rows here, so that why I'm saying this is my specialty in the sense, anyways, we can understand the concepts by maybe by learning some syntaxes or maybe by using some basic employees or students table, but definitely we are learning so that we need, to we need to work in the companies, right? If in learning process only, if you use any real time database, you will gain some kinds of hands on experience to how to deal with the huge data, correct? So that is the reason I'll give you this database, and all the concepts we will learn on this by using this database only. We'll solve so many examples, everything will be learned practically only. And like operator, we have some wildcards in like operator. Basically, what is like operator in the sense, which is used to pattern matching of the data, to find pattern matchings of the data. If you wanted to display any particular data in any particular specific pattern, you can use this like operator. We have some wildcards. We will discuss everything detailedly by solving some examples. Next, functions. We have some inbuilt functions in SQL like number functions, aggregate functions, character functions, date functions. Inside each function, we have so many functions. We will discuss everything detailedly. Next, joins. I can say joins is a backbone for complete SQL. SQL is a backbone for complete IT industry. Joins, I feel joins is a backbone for complete SQL, because in real time we will use joins a lot. We have so many types of joins. This is very important concept. We have so many types of joins like inner join, left join, right join, outer join, self join, cross join, natural join. Okay, all the joins we will learn very detailedly by solving many examples. But here, as this is very important concept, only for this concept, what I'll do in the sense, we will solve some assignment questions actually. Okay, not only the examples which we will discuss in the class, I'll give you some practice questions or assignment questions. I'll give you some 1 week to 10 days of time. If you are interested, if you want, you can just try to solve those questions. No need of submitting for me. You can just check yourselves whether you can able to solve the questions or not. Once you are ready, maybe after 1 week, I'll explain all those answers in the class so that you can only recheck by yourselves whether you can able to solve the questions on joins or not. Okay, only this process will follow for joins because it is important. Next, regular expression. Regular expression is also used to pattern matching of the data, just like operator, but here we have so many options. We will discuss everything very detailedly. Next, group by clause, having clause, two more clauses. To solve better examples on these two clauses, we need to understand joins. That is the reason this clauses will be covered here. How we will use aggregate functions inside group by clause, everything will be covered. Next, subqueries. We have many types of subqueries like correlated subquery, non-correlated subquery, single row subquery, multi-row subquery. Everything we will discuss detailedly by solving examples. Next, normalization, denormalization, normal form. This is the process how we will understand how we will get a real-time database. Okay. I can bet in any other institutes, no one will explain how we are converting a raw data which is given, basically clients will give some raw data. How we will convert that raw data into a perfect database, no one will explain. If they include these concepts, they will just explain you the definitions of it, and what are all the rules we have in normal form. But here I'll take one practical sales data and I'll show you how we are converting raw data into a perfect database. Okay. And next, ER diagrams. Next, views, index, temporary tables. These are all very important concepts, very useful concepts. We have a not only explaining, not only learning about the concepts. Here we'll understand why we are using. I mean, I'll explain why we are using these concepts. Also I'll explain, like why we need to use index, we need to use views, how we will use them in real time, everything will be discussed. Next, temporary tables. We have many major use case of this temporary tables is if you want to remove any duplicate data at a time, we can use this temporary tables. CTE, one more very advanced concept, that is common table expression. Okay, which we will discuss detailedly. Next, stored procedure, which we will use very frequently in real time, so that by using procedures we can finish our task very faster. We will discuss everything detailedly. Next, window functions, one more advanced concept. We have 5 types of window functions, that is rank, dense rank, row number, lead and lag, which we will discuss very detailedly. And this is one of the in from couple of years, this became a compulsory question in every interviews. And yeah, at the end we'll discuss some frequently asked interview questions also. This is the course content, everything is covered here. We didn't miss any concept, starting from scratch to the very advanced concepts like CTE. I can say maximum most of the persons who are working now as a SQL developer also, they won't have idea about CTEs. This is also covered here. Basically, in this time, we have another class. That is the reason admin people is calling me continuously. I hope you got some clarity about the course content which we are going to cover in our course. The course fees is only 3,000. Tomorrow is also a demo class. Please, follow the same link to attend tomorrow's class. We will discuss everything detailedly. We will continue understanding about data types. We'll create our first table, and then we will start understanding about sub-languages concept tomorrow. Okay, if you have any other doubts also, please ask me tomorrow. Is that okay?
Okay.
Perfect. All right, guys, let's meet tomorrow. Bye.